Hi everyone, this is Julie Bruns. Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. I want you to thrive and be happy, peaceful, and content, no matter where you are on your journey. This podcast shares stories that will show you how it can be done, no matter what your circumstances. You'll be inspired and come away with a new spark of an idea. Never forget, anything is possible. New episodes are released every Wednesday. Subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. This helps others find our content and get happier sooner. To possibility and beyond. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining my 100th episode with Marci Shimoff. I am so thrilled to have her on my podcast, you guys, and for her to be my 100th episode. You are going to love our conversation. She is a best-selling author, a world-renowned transformational teacher, and an expert on happiness, success, and unconditional love. Her energy is just sublime, and I'm so excited to be talking to her. I cannot wait for you to listen to our conversation. I'm sure you're going to agree with me after the conversation. She is an inspiration and truly a beautiful soul. Enjoy the conversation. Okay, so thanks everyone for joining me. My guest this week is Marci Shimoff. Marci is many things, and one of them is a New York Times bestselling author of many books. And she's a transformational leader. She's an inspiration to me and thousands of people. She's the creator of the Year of Miracles group program that I'm actually in right now. And Marci, I've known about you for a long time. I've lived in Chicago my whole life. 1 year I moved to Arizona with my husband and young son when he is now 20, almost 24. And he was a year old at the time. And when I was out there, I got into the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. So this is the early 90s or mid 90s. And I read all of them. And I knew of your name then. And I knew of that you all the people, awesome people you've been related to and worked with all these years. And so I actually said to my girlfriend back then in Arizona, I moved back after a year. And I said, I would love to do a book on interview successful people and find out how they did it. And it was funny because I didn't remember that conversation until just a couple months ago when I almost had 100 episodes of my podcast. I'm actually doing that with my podcast instead of writing a book about it, which could end up probably being a book in itself, the podcast. But so I always wanted to interview successful people and say, how did you do it? And why did you do it? And how did you know? And how did you, all of that. So that's why we're here today. And I'm thrilled to have you. And you're a mentor of mine and you're an inspiration. And thank you for being on.
Well, Julie, I am so happy to get to be here with you today. And I want to congratulate you because you are an example. You are a perfect example of what it is you're speaking about. And you have followed your heart, you've followed your dreams, and you are, you're doing it. And so I just applaud you. And I thank you because I think that this is a beautiful podcast series to be bringing out to the world.
Thank you. Thank you. So obviously, you know that the whole point of this is to inspire other people. So that my intent is to inspire other people with stories of successful people. But really, this is what I wish I had when I was in my 20s. I know there were lots of books about it, but all of the real life stories of people that are doing what we're doing, loving our lives and work, so that other people can see it's possible. So I know that you were a writer a long time ago, but I don't know, like when you were younger, if you saw yourself inspiring people and being a writer and speaking. I don't know what about your younger, I know some of your younger life, but tell us about that. How did you know what you wanted?
When I was young, very young, 7, 8 years old, my dream was to be a dancer. I used to watch TV and the variety shows that were on then and pretend I was one of the backup dancers. Mm-hmm. And I would dance all around the living room but I do not have the body of a dancer, and I do not have, it's not what I was born to do, even though it was something that I loved. And so I take dance still to this day, but I know I'm not going to make my living doing that. When I was 13, I went to see an inspirational speaker. It was back in 1971. So for those people out there doing quick math, you don't have to do it. I'm 63. So back in 1971, I was 13 and I went to see this guy named Zig Ziglar. Now,
who took you at 13?
A friend's parents. I went along with a friend of mine, and her parents took us. And I saw this guy, Zig Ziglar, who was about the only one out there in those days. And he was this tall Texan, and he'd walk the stage and he was inspiring everybody about living a life of possibilities. And I said, that's what I'm supposed to do with my life. I was so excited. I just knew, like I said, that's it. That was my vision. I went home and told my parents. They were not very excited about it for me because they had thought that my dad was a dentist and they wanted me to be a dental hygienist. Problem with that, and there's nothing wrong with being a dental hygienist, except I hate blood and that's not my thing. Right. So I told them, oh, I'm going to be a speaker. And they'd never heard of that as a profession. But finally, my mom joked with me. She said, honey, you sure talk enough. You might as well get paid for it. And so there was no real way to become a professional speaker back then. There was no like career path for it. So I did the closest thing I knew how, which was I got an MBA in training and development. And I started my career teaching courses in Fortune 500 companies. I taught stress management courses. And in fact, I had no desire to write. And this is, I think, a really interesting part of the story for people who feel like, why am I doing this right now? I ended up, the only job I could get speaking or teaching was teaching business writing. And I hated writing. I hated it. You know, I said, oh God, please teach me something, give me something else, but nothing else showed up and I needed to pay the bills. So I ended up teaching business writing and I became really good at writing. I became really good at editing. I like really honed my writing skills. Little did I know that I was going to end up writing books and I was going to need those skills. So the universe knows often a lot more than we know. So I had this vision that I was going to inspire millions of people around the world, but I had no idea how that was going to happen. And the universe took care of that.
That is incredible that it was 13. I know some people get like flashes of, I want this, or that would be cool. But at 13, to even want to go to an inspirational seminar is pretty incredible. Because usually a 13-year-old's like thinking, I'm going to play with my friends, or I'm going to go put makeup on, or whatever it is. They, you know, it's not typically something that would call to a 13-year-old. So it's funny that you were there that day and then had that inspiration or that.
Yeah, I was a personal growth junkie from the get-go. I mean, I read personal growth books like in junior high, you know, around 13. And so that was just what I liked, you know, and it's true. It's weird. It was unusual at the time for sure, but it spoke to me.
It's funny. I don't have a degree in training development, but I've been in training development for over 20 years. I taught in corporate America since that time in Arizona. I was trying to figure, I made my master's in teaching. And I said to my husband, I love teaching, but I don't think it's the school atmosphere for me. So that's when that 1 year I was in Arizona, I went to the library at the time because the internet wasn't really even there yet. I mean, it's just starting. And I said, you know, I want to take my business, my marketing degree and my master's degree, and I'll combine them and I'll work in corporate America. I'll teach in corporate America. So same with you, learning development is what I've been doing all these years. And I love it. And then now over the last 5 years, it's been the leadership development and the professional development. And that's really where my passion lies. And that's why the book, and that's why the podcast now. I just love it. I can't get enough of it. I had someone ask me a question the other day about what's one thing I don't like about this industry or this realm or this learning development at all. I'm like, there's not one thing I don't like about it. Wow. And I guess that's probably the perfect thing to be in, because someone would say, well, I don't like the analytics, or I don't like this. I'm like, all of it is so fascinating to me because it all does the same thing, which is helps people grow and get better.
Yeah. Well, that is very fortunate, because I will say, you know, there are, for most people, myself included, there are aspects of my work that I don't like as much as other aspects. Yeah. And so you are very blessed to have that feeling like every part of it you love. Yeah. What I find is that because I know I'm doing what I'm here on the planet to do, you know, I believe that we each have an individual purpose. It's not an accident that we're here, and that we have an individual purpose and we're here to do that purpose. And as long as we're following that, the yucky stuff might show up that you've got to do, but you've got a lot more energy to do the yucky stuff in light of the bigger picture.
Yes, true. It's so true. When you were starting off with that first business writing course and you're like, okay, I know there's something bigger for me, and you're not loving the business writing, but got good at it. What made you happy and peaceful and content along the way? What kept you positive and going and saying, okay, it's not this, but it's something else?
Such a great question. So I think there were a couple of things. I absolutely, as you know, from your Year of Miracles program that I teach, I absolutely believe in putting ourselves in the path of the flow of life, in what I call the miracle zone.
Mm-hmm.
And what kept me going was I was always doing that. I was always doing whatever it took to get my life more aligned with all of life, to be, just what will it take for me to be happier in this moment? And so I think that was a really important thing. The other thing was I kept following what I call the breadcrumbs.
Mm-hmm.
So the writing, that was paying the bills. But after a couple of years of teaching writing, I thought, I do love this teaching. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but I want a topic that I feel more aligned with.
Yes.
And so I decided that I wanted to teach about self-esteem. They say we teach what we most want to learn. Well, I did not have much self-esteem. And so I wanted to teach it. And then Lisa Nichols says, our mess becomes our message. So my mess was around self-love, all of that. So I did some research on who I could learn from. This was in 1989. And the internet was not out there. And so my research came up with a couple of people. And one of them was this guy named Jack Canfield. Now, nobody had heard of Jack Canfield. Nobody. Jack Canfield, by the way, if you haven't heard of him still, he's the creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And I said, I'm going to go learn from him. And I went and spent some time one summer taking a training program of his on how to teach self-esteem. And I started doing that along with teaching business writing. So I was teaching business writing to pay the bills, but I was also teaching self-esteem trainings. And that created more juice. So I kept keeping the juice flowing. And as it would happen, that's what led me to the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. This was before he'd even created the books, but after he did the first Chicken Soup for the Soul book, I was speaking to women's audiences, and I asked him if I could tell his stories to my audiences, and he said, absolutely, of course. And then one day I was on a meditation retreat, and I came up with the idea of Chicken Soup for the Woman's Soul. And that was the birth of the whole Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And that's what really propelled my career to the level that I had seen as a vision when I was 13. Mm-hmm. So it's following the breadcrumbs. It's not, how do I get there? It's what do I do right now?
Right.
To move me forward? What's calling me right now? You do this step, and then you do that step, and then you do that step. You follow the breadcrumbs and you find yourself eventually there.
It's so true. I know and purpose is a big topic for you in the program. I was interviewing someone from my podcast a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about how overwhelming it can be for someone to say, what's your purpose? And you're trying to answer that. You're like, I don't know. Sometimes people don't know at 50, they don't know at 20, they don't know at 70. But she's like, if you ask and say, what's your purpose now? That's a little bit easier. What am I supposed to be doing right now? What's the next thing, whatever it is? Because it can be overwhelming to try to answer that question. I know I was very overwhelmed about it when I was in my 20s. I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to teach people. But like you, teach them how, teach them in what way. All right, adults, yes. Kids, no. All right, that's one step. It's the next little thing. And then once you get in it, if you know what's not right about it, you can adjust or do something else to complement what you're doing. Like you said, to keep the juice flowing. I love that.
Absolutely. And there are many forms that our passions can take. My father was my inspiration because he loved his work, and he was a dentist. And when he retired, we all were concerned because what happens to people when they retire? They die. Not because they're a day older, but because they've lost their purpose or passion in life. Our purpose, our passion, it matters. Our inspiration, waking up feeling like, okay, I've got something to do that's purposeful. And so what happened was my dad analyzed what he loved about being a dentist. And he didn't necessarily love putting in fillings or making crowns. He loved working with his hands in intricate ways and being an artist. He actually felt that his dental work was artwork. And so he took up at 72 when he retired, needlepoint. And he became a master needle pointer, and he would go into my sister's bedroom, which was made into his needlepoint office. And he'd put on his dental magnifying glasses every morning and he'd start working on his needle points. So it's about, what am I to do now? That's the question.
Yeah. I love that he knew that he was smart enough. I mean, obviously he's a smart guy, he's a dentist, but to say like, I need to fill that in with something else that I love, that I'm good at, instead of just having this void, because the void's not good for anyone. If you're doing what you love, you don't ever want to retire. You might slow down, you might do something different, but you need that purpose to be purposeful and to have life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay. So what advice, I know you give advice all the time. What advice do you say to people that are looking for meaningful careers using their strengths? So it's not just, I think I want to be a doctor to help people. It's like, that might not be your strength. What do you say to people that are trying to figure it out?
I say to be super honest with yourself. Be so honest. Don't do something because you think it's what you should do, because it's what other people say you should do, because it's the way for you to, make money or whatever. What is your heart telling you? So here's a question that you can answer. The question is, what makes me feel alive? And I want you to write down at least 10 things that make you feel alive in life. Because this is what life is about. It's about feeling alive. What makes me feel on purpose? And for me, doing this work, I come alive. I mean, this is what I feel impassioned about. Now, there are other things that make me come alive. Dancing makes me come alive. Walking in nature makes me come alive. Make sure you do some of what makes you feel alive in every day, in every week. The other thing is, I would say, persistence. Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, who was his co-author on the original Chicken Soup for the Soul book, they really believed in what they were doing. They created this book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, and they went out to 35 New York publishers to get it published. Nobody would publish it. They all turned it down. They said, this is a stupid idea for a book. Nobody wants to read positive, uplifting stories. Now, most people at that point would have given up on their dream. They would have said, okay, the publishers all rejected it. But Jack and Mark believed so deeply in their dream that they kept on going. And they actually went to the book expo. It was called the American Book Association convention. And they went with backpacks on, with a whole bunch of books in their backpack. And they ended up giving away books to everybody there. They went to 143 publishers. Wow. The very last one was reading the book on the airplane home from the convention and said, I think these are really good. I'm going to give it a try. And had they given up, actually, he was the 144th. Mm-hmm. Had they given up at 140 or 141 or 142, the Chicken Soup for the Soul series would not exist. It's the most successful nonfiction book series in history, and it wouldn't exist had they not persisted. So I think it's about following your passion, believing in your dream, and not giving up.
Not giving up. There's so many stories like that about authors like J.K. Rowling. I know she was another one. I think it was like 60 or 70, same thing. People give up too early, or they give up right before because they just can't take it anymore. And they just think, okay, I was wrong about it, or something's not working out for a reason. Right. And if you're believing in it, you're really the only person that can bring it to fruition. And I remember that story about Jack Canfield, because I just wrote my book in February, and my publisher said to me, you have to talk about it every day. You have to tell people about it. No one's going to know about it unless you talk about it. And you need to just keep getting in front of people. It's really hard. I've been doing it now for 4 months, or 6 months, or whatever that is. It's not hard to talk about it because I love talking about it. What's hard is getting the people to listen, or getting them to email you back, or whatever it is. But no one's going to care unless you say, here's what I'm doing. It's really cool. Here's how I can help other people, or whatever it is. But you're the only one who's ever going to care as much about it as.
Yes, it's your baby. You get to, whatever it is that you're doing, you get to put it out in the world. Yeah. And, for most people, it brings up a lot of fear. And that's the other thing. It's okay. Fear doesn't mean you're not supposed to do it. I felt fear at every single stage of my career. I started off talking to rooms of 10 people. Then I was nervous. Then there were rooms of 200 people. Then there were rooms of 1,000 people. I've spoken to 10,000 people. I still feel nervous. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. You move that energy into the energy of excitement, and you just do it. There's that feel the fear and do it anyway thing. You just shift the perspective that this is actually an energy of of expanding myself,
Yeah.
of stepping out of my comfort zone.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I love it. Okay, so there's two questions, final questions for you. You can answer them both. So one is there anything you wish you learned earlier in your life or career? And then what is the greatest gift you offer the world every day? No one ever wants to answer that last one because you have to brag about yourself.
I love answering that last one. I'm happy to answer them both.
Okay.
So what did I wish I'd learned earlier on? That it was all going to turn out. Relax. I think the stress, to believe in myself more. I think that would have been the number one thing I wish that somebody had said. Just learn actually that your better growth is going to come from honoring your wins and your successes rather than judging yourself and criticizing yourself and being hard on yourself. I think that we think that we're going to learn and grow the best from our judgments and our harshness and our criticisms. And I don't believe that's true at all anymore. I believe what's true is to focus on what your wins are, what your successes are. This is what we do in our Year of Miracles program. And that's what you get more of. What we put our attention on is what grows stronger in our life. So focus on what you are doing, what you have accomplished, honor yourself, celebrate yourself, and you will move yourself forward faster in life from doing that.
I love that one.
So
we're taught to concentrate on the things that aren't going well so we can fix them and get better, but there's negative energy in that, right? That vibration is so much lower thinking about those things. When you're thinking about all those great things and how you felt when you accomplished what you did and how proud you are of yourself, your vibration's higher, energy's higher, you attract more of what you want, of course. And it's a better way to be. And you get to where you want to go faster. I wish I had learned that in my 20s as well.
There's a great tool that I really have taken that I've loved. It's called the Strengths Finder.
Yes.
Strengths Finder. It's this great book, and in it has 34, I think, qualities that you take this assessment to see what you're the highest in. And their idea is that you focus on your top 10 strengths, not your weaknesses. Those aren't what you're here to do. You're here to do your strengths. And I used to always feel like, oh, I'm not a very good teacher. And what I realized from that assessment is that I actually am not specifically a teacher. I am an activator. My number one strength is to activate, is to help people see what's possible, to see the possibilities, and to help inspire people or create the spark in people. And when I shifted from feeling like, oh, I'm not such a good teacher, to, okay, I'm not necessarily here to teach a specific way, but to inspire people, that shifted everything for me. And I thought, oh yeah, now I'm aligned. So
you remember Marcus Buckingham? He's written a bunch of books. So he was on Oprah years ago. I remember seeing him talking about the strengths, and it was the first book he written about how you're supposed to concentrate on those and not all the other things, and how like that performance assessment is really not the way to go in companies, because you're saying you need to improve on these things. No, take your strengths. It's not a foreign concept anymore, but I think still so many companies focus on those things, and it's like, that's not where people are going to be shining.
And I have so seen, I have 42 people that I work with in my company. And I've so seen that when we focus on what people's strengths are, and we add to those, we let them be in their shining strengths, everything works, because that's, I believe, the way that it's meant to be. We're here to do what our strengths are.
I love that.
So you ask me that last question again, because I think it really flows into that.
Yeah. The greatest gift you offer the world every day.
The greatest gift I offer the world every day is I absolutely believe in this vision of all possibilities in life. I believe in miracles. Miracles are not, they say the definition of a miracle is a surprise and welcome event that can't be explained by science, that's often explained by divine grace. We can't create miracles because they're a gift of the divine, but we can create the conditions for miracles to flow into our life. And that is what I believe is our natural state. I believe that we are meant to live miraculous lives, every single person. And even if you're there going, well, my life is anything but miraculous, it may be that way now, but I believe that everybody, and I've seen it time and time again, everybody can put themselves in that flow of miracles. And that's my gift to life. And I do that in the programs I teach, but I do that in my everyday work. I do that if I'm trying to get a reservation and it seems like all the reservations are booked, I'll say to the person on the other end of the phone, the reservations agent, do you believe in miracles? And they go, yeah. I go, oh, good. So do I. Let's create a miracle together. And we create a miracle and they go, oh my God, somebody just canceled. I can't believe it. So I enlist people to live in this field of all possibilities.
And you do it so well. I think the universe for people like you, because if it wasn't for people like you showing other people it's possible, everyone would just think it's just supposed to be kind of miserable, kind of life's just, it's not supposed to be that way. And the more people that are living the way you are and the way I want to live and talk about living is just more proof. People need it, people want it. And my biggest mission is just to show people that you're not supposed to live a mediocre so existence, not peaceful, not content. So, like you're supposed to be in the miracle zone. And the more that I love what you said about maybe you're not creating the actual miracle, but you can create the conditions for it, which is all of those things we're doing, meditating and getting into the feeling and all of that. It's just, it works. And you see proof of it all the time, every day. I'm sure I do, but especially in your work, because you're around all the people teaching it to them. It's just so awesome to see. And it's so important. And I'm so glad that so many more people are open to it than they were, even 10 years ago, because, it was like, okay, yeah, that might work for you. And that's kind of a woo-woo concept. And it's not really energy. I love that all these people are writing about it now and proving it so that the naysayers or the cynics can say, well, where's the science behind that? It's like, it actually affects your body and the cells and all of it. It's amazing.
It really does. And I think we need this now more than ever. Absolutely. And I think that people are so open to, just as you said, we are not on this planet to just survive. You ask most people, how you doing? Oh, I'm okay. I'm getting by. That's not why we're here. We're here to thrive. We are here to thrive. So no matter where you are in your life right now, whether you're thriving already or you're not at all feeling like you're thriving, you have the possibility of doing it. And it's not that hard either. We're talking about some simple baby steps. Some of the things that we even talked about today, just follow your heart, listen to your heart, believe in yourself, take care of yourself, know that it's possible, be persistent, focus on your strengths. These simple things can shift your life into more and more of the miracle zone. And Julie, I know you've heard me share this, but I have to share this with everybody because I so believe in this. People say to me, well, isn't that selfish, just wanting to live your own great life? What about the rest of the world? And what I say is it's the least selfish thing that you can do, because when you are living your greatest life, you are affecting the people all around you. And ultimately you are contributing to the world. And here is a Chinese proverb that I love to share that sums that up. It says, when there is light in the soul, there will be beauty in the person. When there is beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the house. When there is harmony in the house, there will be order in the nation. And when there is order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. And that is my prayer and my wish for every single one of us, that we know that light in our own souls, that we are living aligned with our purpose, and through that, we help create more peace here on this planet of ours.
Totally. I couldn't agree with you more. I love that. I think I've heard that before. It's been a long time since I've heard that, but I definitely have heard that before. It's beautiful. And it's so simple. And I love that you said too, that it's really not all that difficult. Some people say, well, that's easy for you to say, you have this, this, and this, but you meet lots of people that wouldn't seem to have a lot of success or money or whatever it is you think is going to make you happy. And they're still living an aligned, beautiful, peaceful, happy life. And that's because it's all about this and how they're perceiving it instead of just what's all around them. And it doesn't take a lot. And that's what I really wish I would have known when I was in my 20s, it's not about getting another degree and working harder and killing yourself. And and suffering and figuring out how to do everything perfectly. That's not it. It's just being aligned with what you want in your heart. So.
And the research even shows that the more that we, I did a lot of work on happiness and wrote the book Happy for No Reason. And the more that we feel that inner state of peace and well-being, that's what I call happy for no reason, an inner state of peace and well-being, the more we actually attract to ourselves the life circumstances that we are wanting. But it's not about, we have it backwards. We think that the success is going to make us happy. It's going to make us feel good. It's the other way around. When we feel good inside, the outside starts to align more with that.
Yeah, so true. Oh, I love this conversation. Thank you so much for agreeing to do it. I'm so glad I reached out, and I knew we'd have a great conversation. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Julie, for this conversation and for doing this podcast in general. I think it's a great, great gift to the world.
I love it. It feels like a gift. I feel like my husband always reminds me, he's like, you're putting this out there, and like it will be there forever. Anyone can hear these stories and get inspired, which is all I really want to have happen. I want people to say, oh, okay, that's a good point. I haven't heard of it that way before. Look, she's doing it, or he's doing it, whatever it is. So thank you so much for all the work you do. And I'll definitely reference all the books, but what do you want to talk about at the end? Do you want to say like how people can get in touch with you, or the Year of Miracles program?
Sure. There's two ways people can get in touch with me. One is through my work in the area of happiness, and that's at happyfornoreason.com, www.happyfornoreason.com. And on that site, I have a free workbook that shows you what you can do to become happier. And then there's also youryearofmiracles.com. And in your Year of Miracles, so there also is a toolkit for how you can live a more miraculous life. If you go there, those are free gifts for you. And I love that you're in. I so appreciate that you're in your Year of Miracles program 2021, and it's quite remarkable to.
I love it. I never even heard of it before till I got an email from some other Mike Todd. I think it was the Universe. Mike Dooley at the Universe. And I was at the bottom. I'm like, what is this? And I saw your name, and I'm like, it's awesome. I couldn't say enough good things about it. But I would say if anyone's thinking about doing it, you're going to be around. The thing I love most, how positive it is, how everyone that you have on there is just showing you how you can do what you want to do. And then all of the other people supporting all the positive stuff. So I've never been in a group where there was so much more like just support for complete strangers. And it's like, you're going to do it instead of this. There's no complaining. There's just like, how can I get there? Let's help each other. And the positive energy is unbelievable.
Yeah, I love that we have such a powerful group. We have 5,700 people or 5,200 people from 87 countries around the world. And everybody is collectively putting their attention on everybody else receiving their intentions. And it's a phenomenal, powerful, energetic vortex for people. They're having miracle after miracle. And I'm so happy that you're part of it.
Yeah, because of you, I'm writing mine down, and I have this Word document where it has all these miracles, and it's just fun to write it down and celebrate them instead of thinking about what else you don't have. It's like, no, look at everything that's happening. It's been awesome. Cool. Oh, well, thank you, Marci. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Such a joy to be with you and with everybody. So I am sending everybody wishes for your truest, most aligned, and happiest and miraculous life.
Me too. Thank you, Marci. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you love this content, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you found us on. You can get all my social media links in the description below. Help us keep the momentum going so that every person can live their lives happily, doing work they love.